Good morning, guys. Okay, it's Monday, the 17th of September. I have just been triggered into a long position on the FTSE 100 on the 5-minute time frame. We're at almost 10 to 8, so pre-market. And when I'm looking at setups pre-market, pretty much the earliest I will look is 7:30, and 7:30 is when I got the signal. Pretty much what I was looking for coming into this morning. So we've came down, we've tested at this level of support. We've then had a bit of a bounce coming into 7 a.m. We've then pulled back, and once again we've put in another little bounce with the pin bar, which was the signal I was looking for after we started to hold down here. Pre-market, it can be a little bit choppy, especially going into the open. You can see the market spiking around somewhat before it does make the move. So I guess you could call it maybe a little bit higher risk. But coming into today, it's what I was looking for. So when you see something on the charts and it's lining up with your analysis, you really, you just have to get into the trade. It kind of harps back to, I was thinking about trading over the weekend and why it's so difficult for so many of us. You can sort of teach anybody to read a chart. Yeah, the technical analysis. You can teach anybody how to do it. You can teach them how to find support and resistance. You can teach them how to find their entry identifiers. You can teach them how to then manage their trade when they're in the trade. And then, of course, what tends to happen is after someone's been taught, it takes a year to 2 years before they start to build up a level of experience. And as you're going through that 1 to 2 years, sometimes it can be longer. I don't want to shorten it for some people. As you're going through that period of building up the experience, you're dealing with uncertainty. You're dealing with uncertainty every day as a trader. So I can do everything right. I can, I've got my trading plan. I can follow it to the letter. I can identify a really good trade. I can get into that trade. Everything can be perfect, and the market can then stop me out. And I don't really think there's many other careers where that happens, and it happens over and over again. And sometimes you can get runs of losses, and your job becomes sort of following your trading plan even through the hard times. And it's that uncertainty that I've always sort of found and always sort of seen people struggle with as they're learning to trade. It's something I struggled with as I was learning, because you'd put all this energy into finding your trades, and you would sit down at the computer and you'd say, okay, today I'm going to be really, really good. I'm going to be really disciplined. And you can do those things, and you can still have a loss. And the natural tendency when you have a loss is to find something to blame. And when you're trading, the only thing you can really blame is yourself. Unless sometimes people, you see this cycle of they start to learn how to trade, they have a few losses, and so they throw their trading plan out the window, or they blame it on the market and they move market, or they blame it on the broker. You see that all the time. The broker took their stops out, if you actually sit down and logically think about it, the broker is not going to move an entire market to take out, the best will in the world. Even if you're trading £40 a point, £50 a point, £60 a point, it's not even on the broker's radar. It tends to be that you've your stops in obvious places, or perhaps it was just a trade that was one of your natural losses. But the problem is we kind of try and associate blame with something. And what it tends to come down to in the end, after you've sort of gone through the phase of blaming trading plans, blaming the market, blaming, a news release or whatever, it comes back to you. And so you start to turn to yourself and you start to say, okay, maybe that wasn't such a good entry. Maybe I didn't manage it quite right. Maybe I should have done A, B, and C instead. And that's what starts to become the downfall for most traders, because then they start to try to become perfect. And what happens instead is they start to get scared to take trades, because if they're not perfect, in their eyes, that is when the losses will come. And they're going to have losses. So every time they have a loss, they blame it on themselves. And they start to try and find ways to fix it. And sometimes you just can't do that as a trader. And it's really difficult to get your mind around the uncertainty of getting into trades. So I'm in a trade. I've had a fantastic September so far. But when I go into trades, I go in a little bit negative. in my mind. You know, maybe it sounds a bit crazy, but I go into a trade almost expecting to lose because I know the losses are coming at some point, and so I find it easier to deal with it if, when I get into the trade, I tell myself, okay, this is maybe going to be the trade where I'm paying my bills. You know, as a trader, when you take a loss, I look at it as I'm paying my bills, I'm paying my dues, I'm paying my rent, whatever, I'm paying my expenditure, and I just sort of try and mentally prepare myself for the loss. Before I'm into the trade, obviously, I'm doing my analysis and I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm happy with everything. And then I'll recheck. Am I happy with everything? Yes, I'm happy with everything. Is it lining up with what I was looking for? Yes. Okay, so there's no reason not to get into this trade. And then once I get into the trade, or once I'm going into the trade, I'm just telling myself, you know, this is potentially going to be a losing trade. And I find that helps me sort of deal with the losses when they do come. And also, you know, the more you do it, the more you follow the process, especially if you're sort of, you know, tracking your results. What you'll find is that if you just follow your process, it will, over time, take you into profitability. And that's all you have to do, is just continue doing the same thing over and over and over again. A lot of people think trading is exciting. It's, you know, it's not helped by all that sort of flashy advertisement that comes in from the trading community. Trading is not flashy. Trading is, the majority of the time, boring. A lot of the time, very frustrating, very annoying. You know, you're dealing with uncertainty, so you're gonna have to go through those periods of dealing with the runs and losses. It's just all part of it. And once you can sort of get that into your head and accept that that's what it is, it becomes easier to just follow through with your trading plan. Okay, so what are we at? We're at 753. Nothing really as yet. As I've mentioned, you know, coming into the open, we may see some spikes. I'm still happy to be in this setup. We've came down, we've bounced once, twice, potentially a third time. We are just holding at present. Really want to be watching if we spike up into 295 or this MA200. That's really when I'd start to sort of pay attention. You know, am I looking for strong rejections? If I'm seeing strong rejections, do I want to come out of the trade? But I'm looking for a fairly decent bounce on the market. We're about a 12-point stop. So at minimum sort of 12 points is what I would be looking for. But there is the potential here for the FTSE, in my humble opinion, to put in a stronger bounce. So we'll see how we react. You know, if it just comes down and stops me out, just something you have to deal with. If we do start to see that spike up, yeah, potentially I'll hold on to this trade for an increased profit target. Yeah, I mean, back up towards sort of 315 to 320. We'll wait and see. We're at 5 to 8. What I'm going to do is I will pause the video, I'll turn it back on if the market starts to make movements one way or the other, and then I'll just sort of talk you through what it is I'm looking at, what I'm doing with the trade. But for now, it's just a case of sitting, waiting, letting the trade develop. I've already prepared myself. I've told myself, you know, I'm in a trade. I'm happy with the setup. This could well be a loss. If it's a loss, it's going to be frustrating, but you just move on to your next setup. You know, you're always mentally preparing yourself for the loss, because then when they come, it's not a shock. You're not annoyed. You don't sort of think, oh, yeah, that was a stupid trade. I need to jump back in and try and make my money back. So what I'm going to do is pause the video. I'll turn it back on probably when we come up to the open, unless, you know, this 5-minute candle comes all the way down toward the stop level. And then we'll see what happens after the open. Okay guys, so we are just coming into the open. We've had a bit of a spike down on the FTSE. It got down to around about -5, -6 points. We are coming down again. Let's have a look and see how we start the open. Okay, sorry, just making sure my phone was on silent there. So a nice bullish open, but as you can see, you know, we pressed up, we dropped back down really quickly. This happens quite a lot if you're going to trade around the open. And it can be very difficult to sort of manage the trades. I mean, you can find yourself in sort of 5, 6 points of profit, and then in a second, it's back down to break even or in the loss area. It's just something you have to sort of accept if you are going to trade the open of the market. So you can see the market is now breaking down potentially toward the stop level. And what am I doing? I'm just sitting, watching, and there's nothing you can really do when you're in a trade like this. And that's, you know, this is when some people can sort of get really close to the screen and they start watching the candle, and it's, you know, making 1 point movement up and they're like, okay, it's fine. Then it moves 1 point down and they're thinking, oh no, it's going to stop me out. And that's, that's really when you start making mistakes. And it's that's what you sort of have to get used to. There's no real way to do it apart from just time on the charts, a little bit of experience, but also sort of getting used to your trading. You should sort of know how often you suffer losses and how many losses on average you sort of suffer in a row. I know that, if I take sort of 3 good trades, I have 3 wins in a row. Or if I take 2 good trades in a row, but they're sort of higher profitability trades, then I'm sort of due a loss. And then that kind of prepares me for the loss coming. And by knowing that, I can sort of mentally prepare myself when I'm getting into trades. Okay, this one is potentially going to be a loss. I'm a little bit overdue a loss. And unfortunately, there's no real way for me to know that I'm overdue a loss. And then, okay, there we go. So we're coming down to the stop level. Just watching the market, it is looking like it's going to break down. Okay, so very close to the stop. The stop is just below that 281 level. We are pressing down to test it multiple times. Okay, should take me out now. Okay, so there we go. Loss to start off the week, loss to start off the Monday morning. Yeah, still happy with the setup. I'm still happy with the way the trade sort of spiked up. I was looking for a little bit higher, up into sort of 294, up toward the MA200 at the 300 tag. For today's trade, it just wasn't meant to be. So starting off the week with a loss, unfortunately, all I'm going to do now is sort of go back to the charts, start looking for the next potential setup, and then just continuing on with that process. Okay guys, so as always, I hope that was helpful. I hope you all have a good trading week. I hope you've all been having a good trading week. I'm James Orr, and thank you.